Hi everyone, and welcome back to Belinda's DIYs. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would ask that if you would please consider to do so, and also hit the bell icon so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. The majority of the items that I used are from Dollar Tree, so these will be very inexpensive to make. I would love to hear from y'all, so please comment down below and let me know which pumpkin is your favorite one. And also, one more thing, if you do like this video, please give me a big thumbs up and also share. I'd really appreciate it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the easiest DIY. Now I'm going to be using this pumpkin that I've had for about 2 or 3 years. I like to reuse items that I already have. And I'll also be using this one here. I'll also be using some spray paint in the color Coastal Sage, and this is from the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover. Also some foil fall ribbon from Dollar Tree, and some Mod Podge. So I'm going to start with this pumpkin, and I'm going to remove the stem. And then I'm going to take the pumpkin outside and spray paint it with the Coastal Sage spray paint. From the ribbon, I want to use only the foiled leaves, so what I'm going to do is cut several of them and then set them aside. And I'm going to be cutting as close to the leaf as I can. To start with, I cut about 10 leaves, and then as I was needing them, I would cut some more. Okay, so now I was ready to apply the leaves onto my pumpkin, and all I did is brush on some Mod Podge and then place my leaf over and then brush some more Mod Podge with my paintbrush. Now because this wasn't paper, it was harder for them to stay put. I would think that because the material is a mesh type, it would apply better because it has those little tiny holes, but no, it didn't work out. So I did have to cut little slits around my leaf and then apply it, and then I found that they stayed better. So once I was done applying all the leaves on this pumpkin, I moved on to that smaller blue one that I showed you in the beginning of the video, and I just did the same thing. I applied some of these gold leaves. So if you have some old pumpkins that are just sitting around, you can do this and it'll just spruce them up for this fall, and you don't have to make an expense of buying new pumpkins, but just with some spray paint and then Mod Podging some flowers or leaves or whatever you want, it'll just make them look different and unique. Once I was done adding all the gold leaves, I went ahead and I set the pumpkin aside for a few hours so the Mod Podge could dry. And this is how these repurposed pumpkins turned out. For this next project, I'll be using this Dollar Tree fall decor from last year. I really love the print on this one, so I'm going to be using the back side of this pumpkin. I'm also going to be using some beads from this container that has assorted wood beads, and this I purchased at Walmart. You'll also need a piece of twine, some raffia, and from this pack of metal words, I'm going to be using the welcome sign, and this is from Dollar Tree. Some wax from Waverly, and this is in the color Antique. And also some chalk paint in the color White from Waverly as well. To start off with, I'm going to remove the string that this came with and also the metal leaf that it has up at the top. And now I'm just going to set it aside because I will be reusing it. Okay, so I'm going to start by painting the back side of the pumpkin with the white chalk paint. Now that I'm done painting it with the white paint, I'm going to go ahead and apply the antique wax while the paint is still wet. Now in my opinion, I think you can go as heavy or as light as you want with this antique wax. Now I went a little bit heavy because I wanted it to look more like a rustic wood. So if you just wanted to look just a little bit of a hint of a weathered look, you can go light. But I chose to go heavier and make it look just a bit more rustic. Start off by just adding a little bit of wax to your brush and then brushing it on. And then as you get more comfortable, you can start applying more of that wax. Also, if you think that you've put too much of that wax in one section, you can go ahead and just add some more of the white and just mix it in, and that will just correct the problem. But just keep going and brushing and just be your own artist. Now I painted the stem up at the top, but you can also just wrap it with some twine if you'd like. Now for the leaf, I'm going to go ahead and spray paint it with the Coastal Sage spray paint. Now in this bead containers, there's different sizes and colors. I wanted the natural color beads only to wrap around the pumpkin, but there wasn't enough for that. So I went ahead and I created a pattern using the natural and dark color beads. I then strung them up on a pipe cleaner, for one, to keep them from rolling off the table, and two, to see just how many I was actually going to need. Okay, so I started by hot gluing each bead at a time, going all the way around my pumpkin. The beads are coated with some kind of a wax exterior, so let me just tell you this, that I did have a hard time them sticking with the hot glue. I didn't know that I was going to experience this until I started to glue them, and then some beads would come off. So my advice to you is to use some form of a super glue so they can permanently stay there. I continued using the hot glue just for the purpose of this video. Now I know there is some wood beads that are truly natural and don't have any kind of coating. If you use those, I'm pretty sure that they will stick with the hot glue. I also spray painted the welcome sign with the Coastal Sage color, and what I'm going to do now is hot glue it to the center of my pumpkin. Now for the metal leaf, I'm going to go ahead and just bend that wire that it had and just make a loop on it, just like this. Then I went ahead and I looped some twine, made a knot, and tied it around the stem of the pumpkin. And then lastly, I added some raffia around this stem as well. For this last project, I'm going to be using these chargers from Dollar Tree. Now these are also some items that I've had for a while, so I'm going to be repurposing them. Now for this project, you can use really some plates or just any objects that are round, and preferably with no bumps on the edges. I'll also be using about 2 bags of these wood stems from Dollar Tree. These are from last year, so hopefully you have some in your stash. Some black acrylic paint, and once again I'll be using this spray paint in the color Coastal Sage. I'll also be using these words that say hello fall, and I printed these off my computer. Now I'm going to show you a very easy way how to transfer these words onto your plate. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is take these chargers outside and I'm going to spray paint them with this spray paint. Okay, so now that the paint is dry, what I'm going to do is place these chargers together and form a pumpkin just like this. Okay, so now that I've laid one charger over the other, I'm going to go ahead and outline one side as you see me do there. And this is so when I put some hot glue, I'll know exactly how far to go in. Okay, so once again, I had problems with the hot glue gluing to these plates. So you will be seeing me use the hot glue, but then in the end, I went ahead and I used some super glue. So if you decide to do this project, use either E6000 or super glue only. So here I start off by using some hot glue. Once again, use either 6000 or super glue instead of hot glue. And then for added reinforcement where both plates met, I added some more hot glue and then also added some duct tape. And then on the back side, I added some more of that duct tape. Okay, for this third plate, what I did is add some super glue on the edges as you see me do right there, and then I clamp it down with some chip clips just to keep them in place. Now I left it like that for 24 hours. Next, I'm ready to transfer these words onto my plate. I went ahead and I did some prep work on them. As I'm showing you right there, I've penciled in the back side of each letter. So now all I have to do is place my words onto my plate and trace over each letter using my pencil. Now this technique is great for those of us that don't have a Cricut or we don't have some pretty letters or words to just stick on. And now I'm going to go over the letters with the black acrylic paint using a paintbrush with very thin bristles. Dollar Tree has two different types of wood stems. I'm going to be using these that seem to have a white exterior and also these other ones that seem to be longer and have a darker exterior. Now I'm basically going to do the same thing as I did with the previous project where I outlined it with the beads. Well, I'm going to be outlining the plates using these little wood stems. Now I'm going to go around the center plate and then the outer edge ones. Once again, I recommend you using E6000 or super glue. And then I glued two of the wood stems and used that as the pumpkin stem. And then lastly, I made a simple bow and then I hot glued it to the stem. Well, that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up and also share. I'd really appreciate it. And once again, please comment down below and let me know which one was your favorite pumpkin. Well, until next time, God bless and stay safe.